My big brother put me onto a lot of music when I was younger. I remember him showing me Freddie Gibbs, way back when he had released the song, What It Be Like. I remember him showing me Andre Nicotina. And I remember my brother showing me a young Nip Hussle, right when he first released Hustle in the House. As time went on, I saw Nipsey Hussle grow into a prolific entrepreneur. In high school, one of my favorite mixtapes of all time was Crenshaw. I can't tell you how many times I've listened to that mixtape. Nipsey's lyrics became a constant reminder and motivator for me as I worked in Seattle's medical marijuana industry as a high schooler. And to this day, the lessons I've learned from hearing Nipsey talk business have stuck in my head. And I think a lot of people that listen to Nipsey would say the same thing. Welcome to High Design Music. In this episode, we will cover the brilliance of the late, great Nipsey Hussle. This is the entrepreneurial marathon of Nipsey Hussle. All money in, no money out. Please make sure to hit the like button, share, subscribe, and comment down below. I would say that Nipsey Hussle was one of rap's smartest entrepreneurs, coming out of the new era of hip-hop in the late 2000s and early 2010s. I was in 7th grade when my brother first showed me Nipsey, the first song obviously being Hustle in the House. Now, this song came out in 2009, and if we listen to the lyrics, we can hear him say the line, quote, "Now it's rap money, no advances, all royalties," end quote. This line refers to the independent artist route that Nipsey took. Nipsey was a super strong advocate for rappers taking the independent route, having ownership over their own music. So typically when a musician signs with a record label, the label will give the artist an advance to create a music project. Now the thing about advances is that they are pretty much a high interest loan that needs to get paid back to the record label eventually. The artist won't be able to make any money from the music project that they release until the label recoups all the money it lent to the artist. In a lot of ways, these advances can be seen as a potential debt trap, a mechanism for the label to keep the artist in their cycle of control and never really letting the artist break through and become financially independent, relying on the label really. Jay-Z had a famous line in one of his songs that went like, quote, "You still taking advances, huh? While me and my friends taking real chances, huh?" Don't take the high interest loan. Bet on yourself, and long term, it will pay off. Also, build your catalog. Think about every song you make as another building block into the structure that makes up your catalog. The larger the catalog and the more fans you have, well, obviously then the more leverage you will have in negotiations with a major record label. And we saw this with Nipsey, right? Nipsey built up his catalog and then eventually went into a distribution deal with Atlantic, I believe. But he had to put in the time and the years of grinding as an independent artist to be able to, negotiate a really quality distribution deal. Now, something that Nipsey talked about in many interviews is how he constantly studied people like Jay-Z and P. Diddy. Over the years, Nipsey developed a relationship with Jay-Z. I think in many ways they bonded over their strong belief in ownership and entrepreneurship. Listen to Nipsey in this interview explain why he sold the Crenshaw mixtape for $100 each and how Jay-Z purchased 100 copies of the $100 mixtape.
Yeah, can we talk about that? Because I think it's like such a genius marketing tactic.
Right.
And I think it paid off hugely to your guys' advantage because of the way you executed it.
Definitely.
So tell me about like how that came to fruition and how you guys thought about doing that in that way and the execution too.
Yeah, I mean, it's a combination of things that went into figuring out or committing to doing it at $100 price point. I read a book called Contagious by Jonah Berger.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
And he had a story about
Philly.
This restaurant in Philly called Barclay Prime.
Yeah.
And they had a $100 cheesesteak. And everybody thought it was crazy. Ain't nobody gonna pay $100 for a cheesesteak, plus we in Philly, you crazy? But it became like a status symbol for like business meetings, or like you bring a girl on a date and you wanted to buy the $100 cheesesteak, and Oprah Winfrey ended up coming to get one, and Jay Leno, and it became a thing. So I'm like, damn, you know, that ain't been done in rap at all. I figured that a artist has that type of fractional fan base. You got some fans that's mildly engaged, and you got some fans that's 100% committed. So when you give a directive like it's $100 for the album, you make it special, it come with a private invite-only concert.
Yeah.
You know, it became a thing. It became a way to reciprocate whatever you felt you was getting out of the music. It was like a way to give it back. And you know, when we announced it, I got a lot of backlash at first, you know, but then there was also a free version of the project too. If you didn't want to buy it, you could download it free. And then if you wanted to buy it on iTunes, it was on iTunes. You wanted to stream it, it was on all the streaming platforms. That's why the main phrase was proud to pay, but the tagline was just always by choice, never by force.
Yeah.
And so, you know, Jay-Z reached out and he supported the campaign. He spent
100?
Yeah, he bought 100 up and spent 10 racks with us.
It's cool.
Yeah, and that set the media and just the narrative of the album on a tailspin.
As we can see in this video, Nipsey understood three major things. First, he understood how generating publicity can translate into people checking out his music. The amount of publicity and new eyeballs that was drummed up from not only selling a mixtape for a whopping $100, but also the headline that Jay-Z had bought 100 of those mixtapes for $100 was absolutely massive. And, you know, I love how Nipsey created hype around a business move or the price of the mixtape rather than starting some beef, which, you know, today we see so many of these rappers trying to start beef and putting negative energy out there to create hype so that people will check out their own projects. So I love to see that. Now, the second thing that Nipsey understood was the idea of building brand, building exclusivity, and how creating products that become status symbols can be extremely lucrative. And third, and probably most important thing that Nipsey showcased was the power of understanding his fan base, truly understanding who and in which regions of the world were super fans of him. See, way back in 2015, Nipsey understood the power of data.
Every time somebody buys my mailbox money on my Proud to Pay website, my app will alert me, and it'll tell me who they are, what their Twitter is, what their telephone number is, what their email is, and it also show like how much they've spent with me. So, you know, you got certain people that, you know, when they hit me, or like when I make a sale, for example, you'll see like, okay, this person spent 2 orders with me. They bought Crenshaw for 100, they bought mailbox money for 1,000. So this person spent 1,100 with me, and that's who they are, and it's their address, and it's their Twitter name, and here's their text message, and I can hit them and be like, you know, you making history, you know what I'm saying? You changing the game, I appreciate you. And it shows you where in the world, you know, these people are. And so that really helps with touring, because you can see like, okay, I did, you know, 2,000 units in, you know, Texas, and or in Dallas, you know, so these 2,000 people, you can send a link to your concert directly to the people that bought your album.
When it comes to cryptocurrency, Nipsey Hussle was far ahead of the pack. Back in 2017, Nipsey began to get heavily involved in cryptocurrency. Tell me another rapper, hell, tell me another famous musician that was investing in crypto back in 2017. In September of 2017, the price of Bitcoin was around $5,000. Do you know how much Bitcoin is worth today? Around $63,000 or so as of this recording. Yeah, Nipsey was ahead of his time. I think it truly does show that he did have a true mindset and eye for identifying new potential entrepreneurial abilities. And for anyone trying to be successful, especially as an entrepreneur, whether you're a content creator, musician, or really anything, you need to understand that there are a bunch of small little windows that appear. And these windows, right, a window of opportunity only lasts so long. So you need to be able to be educated so that you can understand when these windows appear so that you can take advantage of them and, reach success or, gain wealth while the window is still open. And like I said, Nipsey was far ahead of his time. Check this out.
This cryptocurrency is, I think it's like a form of karma. I think that the banks had such a crooked model that the engineers and software designers and programmers was like, we're not gonna fix this with a protest. We're not gonna fix this with a march on Wall Street. We're gonna fix this with technology. And they created a equalizer that just checkmated the whole game. That's my view on it. It's just like the energy balancing out what went wrong over there. And just the disadvantage that the people were at, the cryptocurrency is balancing that out, or will in the long run. It's gonna take a while, but it's gonna create an option. And you're not gonna have to go operate in that system that led to like 2008, all the banks collapsing and the real estate bubble and all the malpractice of power that, was happening in the banking industry and the central banks and all that. So it's like, damn, that was slick. Whoever came up with that was slick. If you really peep it from a political point of view, you know what I mean? That was real effortless checkmate. You know what I mean? They exited before anybody knew what was up.
And it still got bailed out.
You know what I'm saying? It's a lot of reasons that, political reasons why it's a big thing, and it's financial reasons why it's a big thing, and even like on a simple level of like sending money overseas or something, to be able to do that peer-to-peer and not have no middleman with a fee, and with a policy, it's just a direct transaction that's, regulated by a public ledger. That's a big innovation if you understand like banking and PayPal and all that type of shit. Somebody told me that it's like what the internet was in like the early 90s. And think about what that turned into and all the billion-dollar businesses that was built off of that. That's like what the cryptocurrency, blockchain opportunity is similar to. So it'll take a while before we see it mature and really turn into what it can potentially be.
So Nipsey had the Marathon clothing brand, or his overall brand, right? The Marathon Continues, which represented, the continuous grind that whether you're a music artist or an entrepreneur, it's constantly a marathon. You constantly have to keep going, right? So while he expanded his Marathon clothing brand, he also announced a partnership with Puma Clothing and Shoe Company. He became an ambassador for Puma. So when the deal with Puma was announced, rather than blow his check on himself, Nipsey treated 50 of his closest family and friends, including his longtime partner Lauren London, rapper YG, OT Genesis, and Grammy Award-winning producer James Fauntleroy, to a specially curated dinner featuring custom cocktails and Hussle's new album providing the musical ambiance. At this dinner, Hussle's collaboration with Puma, called The California, was unveiled, and he began carrying an exclusive Puma line in Marathon clothing. I think that this points to Nipsey's belief that building a solid team and rewarding your team, members, the people that work for you, your family, rewarding them and making them, feel like, they're part of the group. I've said this in pretty much every single High Design episode, that the number one thing that determines an entrepreneur's success is the ability to build a strong team. And building a strong team means being a good leader. And being a good leader means, giving praise and giving back and paying and, reimbursing your team for all of the amazing work that they did for you, right? Teamwork definitely makes the dream work. Nipsey also invested very heavily in the Marathon Agency, a digital marketing agency co-founded by Karen Civil and Jorge Peniche. The Marathon Agency was heavily involved in the 2016 United States presidential campaign. Reportedly received a hefty sum from Nipsey to help with startup costs, so Nipsey was one of the main investors. And like I said, the Marathon Agency was heavily involved with the 2016 campaign, meaning that they were helping Hillary Clinton and the Clinton campaign connect with the black community. So it really does truly show you that Nipsey's investments really was getting to the, truly getting closer and closer to, massive amounts of power, meaning the Clinton, campaign, right? What's more, according to Steve Carless, is that who is the head of the Marathon Agency, the company looked at Nipsey as a silent partner because he had invested close to 6 figures in bringing the Marathon Agency to life. Nipsey also had for a long time been a lover of weed. He had close ties to the medical marijuana industry in LA, and eventually the Marathon OG strain would be created and is now sold by the Cure Company in Los Angeles, right? We have seen continuously Nipsey made so many different investments into things that he believed in, and we'll get into, why that really is so important a little bit later here. Now, something I have mad respect for Nipsey is his understanding of land ownership. Nipsey began to take the money he had made from music and other businesses and started to invest it into real estate, but more so real estate within his community. The corner plaza located at Crenshaw and Slauson, where he used to trap, where he used to hustle, right? Where he really got his last name, or his name, Hussle. It has become a mecca for not only all things hustle, but a statement and example of growing generational wealth and entrepreneurship. This plaza was a place where Nipsey and his friends used to hustle right outside. Eventually, Nipsey and his team would open up the Marathon clothing store, and then he would eventually purchase the entire plaza. The plaza is now known as Nipsey Plaza, but that wasn't the only real estate Nipsey would invest in. As, the forward-thinking businessman that he was, Nipsey Hussle recognized that developing communities, including to which the one he came from, needed, places for co-working spaces. And so he teamed up with a company called Gross to offer, quote, flexible short-term leases, daily passes, monthly memberships, private offices, and custom build-outs to budding entrepreneurs. He wanted to really actually invest into the infrastructure that would help birth more entrepreneurs from his community. And, Nipsey Hussle wasn't just interested in giving back to the youth or investing in businesses in the hood. He was interested in taking back the hood, right, where he was from the corporations and the overseers, giving it back to the people that he grew up with, right? In addition to the Vector 90 space, where, I mentioned earlier, the co-working space, Hussle partnered with DJ Khaled and several other investors, and they acquired a leasehold for the Viceroy Santa Monica, which is a massive luxury beach hotel, which has 162 rooms. He was also looking to invest in other businesses. It's his ownership and advocacy that he carried all throughout his life. And like I said, this will be 100% part of his legacy, or it is a part of his legacy, right? He invested and he taught a lot of people invest back into your community, because that's really the way to do it. And unfortunately, we lost him in his untimely death a couple of years ago. In conclusion, Nipsey will be greatly missed. Nipsey was someone who grew up in a tough environment, yet that didn't stop him from trying to educate and uplift his community. It's sad to think that Nipsey was on the track to reach a stature of entrepreneurship on par with the likes of Jay-Z. Nipsey was one of the rappers that learned early on that making money from music was not really the long-term goal, right? He realized that becoming a rapper, and a famous rapper at that, created a platform that could be leveraged into business opportunities. He, like Jay-Z, realized that music was not going to truly build generational wealth. He knew what really built generational wealth. And that was the investments into companies, real estate, stocks / crypto and building different brands, brand equity. Nipsey was obviously a born leader, and he led so many, including myself, into understanding that becoming successful is a marathon. It takes time. But if you keep working, eventually you will reach some amount of success. While we know Nipsey as a rapper, I believe he was so much more than that. He rose to a level of influence where anyone that listened to his music or heard him talk business actually genuinely listened to what he was saying. And in this era where everyone is talking and it feels like hardly anyone is listening, that's a rare attribute to have. Rest in paradise, Nipsey. You will be missed, but never forgotten. I know your legacy of entrepreneurship and community upliftment will live on through the people you have inspired in so many other ways. That is, of course, the hustle way. Thank you so much for watching this episode of High Design Music. If you would like to see an episode on someone else, please let us know down in the comments. This is a series that aims to shine a light on the amazing entrepreneurs that are in and throughout the music industry, to highlight that some of these musicians are far more than makers of music, but rather leaders that are showing us that there is many different paths to success and financial freedom. The marathon continues. All money in, no money out.
The best thing you can do for a person is to inspire them. That's the best currency you can offer them, an inspiration. And so when a person can rely on you for that, you know, that empowers them in every realm of their life. Being inspired, it empowers them in their relationships and their business and their art and their creativity. It empowers them, because without inspiration, you dry, and you know, you can't summon the energy unless you're inspired. You know, so when people can rely on you for that, you know, they just want to make sure nothing changes and that it stays like that, and that, you know, for no reason do you have to, you know, stray from that. So I feel like it's like, when I said that, I meant, you know, that's the best thing I could offer my fans.
Please like, share, and subscribe if you like this high design video. Anyways, this is LMC, signing out.